All right. So the I guess approach to this conversation for me is there's been a lot of fanfare, a lot of coverage of Julian Edelman and his retirement and all of the conversations that have spawned from it. And one of the biggest conversations, and you guys are both receivers, so I'm super interested to hear your guys' take on it, is Julian Edelman a Hall of Famer? And
Plex, who want to go first, Plex? You or I?
Yeah, I'll let y'all.
You know what? When I heard he retired, and then it was all the talk about is Julian Edelman a Hall of Famer?
You know what, Plex? Let me go first. Let me go first.
All right, you go.
And the reason I said I'm sitting here listening to you talk, and people will say, "Oh, Julian Edelman, he should be at Hall." I'm gonna just straight up answer the question. Absolutely not. He shouldn't be.
Okay.
And coming from a receiver, oh, you're hating. No, I'm hating. I'm keeping it 100. I'm being real with you. He's not a Hall of Famer. And, he had great playoff success. I mean, when you play in a ton of playoff games and you play with the greatest quarterback ever, that's par for the course. Oh, he won a Super Bowl MVP. Well, in essence, our man Plaxico should be in the Hall of Fame because, I mean, if I recall, he caught a game-winning touchdown to win the Super Bowl against one New England Patriots. And so all I know is Plex came into the league before I did. But when this is my criteria for the Hall of Fame, when they say name the top linebackers in the league, if your name doesn't come up in that conversation ever, you're not a Hall of Famer. So when you say for the last 12 years, name the top receivers in the league, you will name 15 or 20 guys before you get to Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman had a great career, was a really good player. But the Hall of Fame is the best of the best because of what he did. It's not the Hall of Fame for playoff edition. It's the Hall of Fame for the entirety of your career. And so I know Plaxico played great, had tremendous success in the playoffs. He didn't play in the many playoff games, but he was the guy for the Giants when they made that Super Bowl run. I don't hear anybody saying Plaxico Burress should be going to the Hall of Fame.
Why is that, Plaxico?
Hey man, when you look at guys going into the Hall of Fame and what they've accomplished, your resume as far as all pros, how many all pros did you make, and how many Pro Bowls did you make, how many Super Bowls did you win? So Shannon Sharp, who was not in the Hall of Fame, Shannon Sharp and myself,
Sterling.
You mean Sterling?
Yeah, Sterling Sharp and myself had the same exact numbers. Sterling Sharp went to 5 Pro Bowls, and it was a one-time All-Pro. I didn't make it to any Pro Bowls, and my numbers were better than him. So there's a lot of discrepancies as far as who goes into the Hall of Fame. But I'm going to give you this, just like TJ just said. Julian Edelman a Hall of Famer? Absolutely not. Being a great playoff wide receiver does not make you a Hall of Famer. And these guys, when it comes to this wide receiver stuff, as far as who should be in the Hall of Fame, I get sensitive about it because I know how hard it is to play the position and do it at a high level and to not be recognized for your body of work. I'm going to just throw out some names to you. Torrey Holt, 13,000. Henry Ellard, 13,000. Jimmy Smith, 12,000.
Jimmy Smith was cold.
Jay Smooth, Cliff Branch. These guys are still not in the Hall of Fame.
Not in.
Torrey Holt.
Isaac Bruce.
Torrey Holt. I think he was the first wide receiver in NFL history to have 6 consecutive 13,000-yard seasons. This man is not in the Hall of Fame. And we talking about Julian Edelman, Reggie Wayne. I mean, come on, man. Hey, we got to stop this nonsense somewhere. Julian Edelman, a Hall of Famer. My stats are blow his out of the water. I'm going to just be frank. I know he played with Tom Brady and played in a gang of playoff games, 620 receptions, 6,800 yards. What is that, 8-9 yards a catch? I don't know. I went to Michigan State. So I don't know how many yards he averaged. Because we talking about 36 touchdowns? Him going to the Hall of Fame?
Don't even take the stats out of it.
36 touchdowns. And we're talking about Julian Edelman. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Base it off of receivers, no. If you base it off of talent, like Julian Edelman, he can play. And it sucks when you do this because it feels like you're putting somebody down.
I'm not putting nobody down. I'm telling the truth.
And that's my point is when you say, hey, name the top 10 receivers in the league, you won't even think of him. You wouldn't even think of him.
It's not even close.
So people that say the Hall of Fame, he had a platform in the playoffs that because he was with New England Patriots, he started as a quarterback at college at Kent State, backed up Wes Welker. I don't think he's better than Wes Welker, to be honest with you. And Wes Welker ain't getting in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he was Wes Welker's backup until Wes left.
Y'all remember how long it took for Art Monk to get into the Hall of Fame?
Let me tell you a story about Art Monk.
Tell us. That's your area.
I think on the very first show I came out and said I grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. My mother was a diehard Washington football team fan, and I used to watch this guy run up and down the field, number 81, and his name was Art Monk, and he was the reason why I started playing the position. He's the reason why I started playing football. And when we made it to the Super Bowl back in 2007. On Media Day on a Tuesday, they asked me, they said, when did you start playing football and what inspired you to play? And I told the same exact story. I saw a guy wearing number 81 with the same skin color as mine, going out, diving all across the field, making all these great catches. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be like Art Monk. And I paused during the question, and I said, you know what, excuse me, can we please put Art Monk in the Hall of Fame? We're talking about 25 years later, and this man was still
the Hall of Fame.
No, he was not in the Hall of Fame
for a long time.
And he was the NFL league leader in history in receptions with like 889 receptions to that date. Mm-hmm. And he was still not in the Hall of Fame. And we're talking about Julian Edelman?
I'll say this. I think that Julian Edelman had a fine career. I also will say as times have changed, and my answer is no, I don't believe he's a Hall of Famer. And we're discussing right now the retirement of Julian Edelman. And listen, I want to celebrate him, but us doing it wouldn't be proper if we didn't have the conversation. I think and to your point, TJ, it's not about us putting him down. I think it's actually a conversation that gives him a lot of props because we're actually having the conversation on. You're listening to the Dan Patrick Show with the Up On Game crew, LaVar Arrington, TJ Houshmandzadeh, and Plaxico Burress. You know, my idea of it is if the conversation ensues, then there was a reason why. And this conversation has continued to circulate and really, really kind of grow some legs. So I wanted, two of the guys I respect the most to have the opportunity to discuss if he was a Hall of Famer or not from your opinion. Let's shift gears just a little bit and I think this is an interesting topic as well. We've discussed in prior shows about Bill Belichick, and I took a lot of heat for saying, last week that Bill Belichick's seat may get warm if he doesn't have a good season this year. It kind of comes back full circle with Julian Edelman as the conversation of why I believed his seat could become warm is if you can't prove that the Patriot way is the Patriot way because of Bill Belichick and not because of Tom Brady, then I think that time could get interesting for Bill Belichick and also for the New England Patriots. So my next thought process on this whole topic was, are we looking at guys as Hall of Fame level players because of the New England Patriot way? Because I look at it like this, guys. If Julian Edelman has to be looked at or is being considered and being debated as a Hall of Famer, shouldn't we look at Troy Brown first? Shouldn't we look at Dave Patton first in terms of being a Super Bowl? Don't they have more accolades than Julian Edelman as New England Patriots? I mean, there are receivers that have come through there that, to me, were really good players that just maybe weren't A-list guys in terms of recognition and who they were.
Like, Canton is the best of the
That's
best.
That's the best
man.
of the best.
It's the best of the best. It's not the best in, we'll take up. This is the best of the best, man. Like, people on national television that are saying this, man, they don't know, and this is kind of just, they don't understand the game of football. And I'll argue with anybody about this. Receivers, you got to be able to get open in one-on-one coverage at all times on the inside and outside. You can't just sit in the slot and run option routes. Like, he had a hell of a career, but Canton is the best of the best. And Julian Edelman is good. He's not the best of the best.
All right, listen. Troy Brown, 3-time Super Bowl champ. Sound familiar? Oh, okay. Made it to Pro Bowl in 2001. I mean, his numbers, 6,366 yards total.
I'll give you a Super Bowl MVP from the Patriots. What about Deion Branch? He was Super Bowl MVP.
Deion Branch is a great name.
He sure was.
Deion Branch is a great name. I'm just saying. So now the question becomes: Is this based off of the Patriot way?
Yes.
And what does that look like? Because they all had Tom Brady as a quarterback.
This whole conversation of is Julian Edelman a Hall of Famer is strictly and only based off his playoff numbers. Because if you look at every statistical category, yards, receptions,
he's
touchdowns,
not a lead in any of them.
He's not. No, in the playoffs, yes, he is.
He's
in
number
the
2 in the playoffs behind Jerry Rice.
Yes, he's number 2 in the
playoffs.
In the playoffs.
But the Hall of Fame
is that the great qualifier though?
No, it's not. No,
so
it's
are they
not.
moving the goalposts for the qualification? Right. I thought it was the entirety of a career, not
that's
just
what
playoffs.
I thought.
What did you do on a consistent basis for 12 or 13 years during your career, during the regular season?
All right, here's what we're
were
gonna do.
you elite during the regular season, Sunday in and Sunday out?
Hey, Plaxico, how you make it easy. Hey, name the best receivers in the league. If your name doesn't come up, you're not a Hall of Famer.